Job discrimination by Myra Carter. Job discrimination. This occurs when an employment decision in some way harms or disadvantages an employee or a job applicant. The decision is based on the person's membership in a certain group rather than on individual merit. The decision rests on prejudice, false stereotypes, or the assumption that the group in question is in some way inferior and thus does not deserve equal treatment. Pink-collar occupations. Women are clustered into pink-collar occupations, which is known as poorer-paying jobs. Discrimination in American life. Studies reveal the persistence of discrimination in American life. The statistical evidence shows wide economic disparities between whites and racial minorities. It also shows significant occupational and income differences between white males on the other hand, the women and minorities on the other hand. Interesting information I didn't know. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was later amended by the Equal Employment Opportunity Act of 1972. This was to guarantee the right for equal pay for the equal amount of work. Violations by companies. Some employers can violate Title VII not only when they treat an individual differently due to their sex, race, religion, color, or even their national orientation, but can also if they use a practice or have a rule that may not be discriminatory on the face but excludes or adversely affects more than a few people of a certain race, sex, or any other protected category. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. This is a federal agency that enforces, after administration, the civil rights law that will be in violation of workplace discrimination. This is a chart that shows types of charges filed with the EEOC in 2012. Statistics. This chart shows the different types of discrimination from 1997 to 2013. This chart is interesting. I was surprised by the number due to the fact that I always thought sexual orientation would be the biggest one out of them all. Affirmative action programs. This is designed to correct the different imbalances in the workplace that exist directly as a result of past discrimination. These specific programs reflected the court's recognition that job discrimination can exist even through the absence of the conscious intent to discriminate. Affirmative action. This means programs will take the race or sex of the employees or even the job candidates into account as a part of an effort to correct the imbalances in employment that exist as a result of past discrimination, either in the company itself or in the larger society. Arguments for affirmative action. The arguments for affirmative actions are as follows. Compensatory justice demands affirmative action programs. Affirmative action is necessary to permit fairer competition. Affirmative action is necessary to break the cycle that keeps minorities and women locked into low-paying, low-prestige jobs. Arguments against affirmative action. The arguments against affirmative action are as follows. Affirmative action injures white men and infringes their rights. Affirmative action itself violates the principle of equality. Non-discrimination will achieve our social goals. Stronger affirmative action is unnecessary. Comparable worth. Comparable worth advocates contend that women have been shunted into a small number of pink-collar occupations and that a biased and discriminatory wage system has kept their pay below that of men in occupations involving a comparable degree of skill, education, and responsibility. Sexual harassment. This is pretty self-explanatory. This can involve anything from comments that a person can take as a sexual comment up to a person touching another person. Most of the sexual harassment involves things from the comments up to pictures and such. This is a very tricky and is common in the workplace to an extent. Sexual harassment statistics. This chart shows the statistics on who will take the initiative and help take control of the situation from talking to the victim to reporting it to the employer. Most of them will talk to the victim before doing anything further. Statistics with men and women. This chart is about the amount of money men and women bring home on a weekly basis. In the 1980s, there was a much bigger gap between men and women. In 2008, the gap was a little smaller between the two. Works cited is as follows.